What it do, everybody? It's your boy King Crowder back again with another edition of History You May Not Know, a history that is important that we should know. Today's lesson will be taken back to the most beautiful couple in one of the most awesome love stories in world U.S. history. The couple focuses on William and Elaine Craft. The Craft couple were both enslaved inside the United States during the period of antebellum slavery. And what they did was they escaped by pretending the wife was the slave master and the husband was the enslaved individual. Going back to a little bit of history on them, these two were born in Georgia to an enslaved family. The wife Elaine was more fair-skinned white passing due to her lineage being the children of enslaved individuals. Her background is more detailed and vivid. They give a lot of information about her, why she had the fairer skin based on the slave master having multiple kids with her mom. During around this period of time, marriage was still a phenomenal thing among Black Americans, even though they didn't have much resources or ways to go about it. The love between these two individuals was beyond strong and beyond everlasting. Mr. William, who came from a different background, he tended to work in a field and he came from more traditional structures himself. Him and Elaine met crossed each other's path on the plantation back when the Sunday services among each other got to spend time. So they got married and wed based off the love story them two had with each other. They met at a fairly young age, and at a fairly young age, both of them had aspirations of wanting to leave to start a family and create a new free lineage. The reason why this story was so impactful and so true is based off the dedication and how love trumps all. To give you a little background also on how the enslavement first started and the freedmen thinking the thought processes about him too. They knew that Elaine was about to get transferred more rural down south, and they were both in the Georgia area at the time. So William's idea was, hey, I know how we can transfer via letters, because neither one of them write at the time. They were both had no formal education. They both had no formal thoughts. But they knew that Elaine fit the tune if he altered her look as someone that could take the trains to escape travel. So what these two brilliant people did was that William, of course, looked like a typical enslaved individual. He played his role to the part to the T, but he transformed his wife into a younger enslaved master, an enslaved individual who was taking his enslaved person to the north to get some type of resources or plans going. However, what they did was they made Elaine look like she had a physical injury and was physically attacked. They put a big red hat on her, put her arm in a sling because she could not write at the time, and they also made it where she could barely speak and hold temporary conversation. So the first thing they did was this couple really went for luxury class, because when you're in luxury class, you tend to get less conversation and less dialogue. How did they get the money? They were both saving the resources and chipping away as they were gaining stuff during their enslavement period. So they paid for the luxury just to get that little bit of freedom. William went where the enslavement sat on the trains and the railroad tracks. So at their first stop, Elaine first saw the people she deals with regularly. However, they did not see her because she was definitely in cosplay, and they did not even notice her. So their very first ride in the train heading towards South Carolina, leaving Georgia, the person that usually works with her sat right beside her and didn't even notice. Her heart was pounding. She was worried about William and worried if they would get caught. But nobody noticed her. They said, good day. She sat on the train, looked outside the window, and did not panic. The trip took about 4 days for them to get north to Philadelphia, which was free enslavement land. So the next stop they had to do was that they had to go from North Carolina to Baltimore. And that was literally the Mason-Dixon line at the time. So when they came from South Carolina to Baltimore was their longest second leg of trip. And at this second leg of trip, they actually had to get a forcible conversation to get someone's signature done. However, Elaine, with the slingshot idea from William with her arm being messed up, she could not write because at the same time, left hand was not legible to write with. She pleaded with the person that that was her problem. And they, even though they really, really did not want to let her slide, the empathy enough they had for white people was big enough so they could say, okay, you may go ahead and you may proceed, because they did not want to lose a customer and make them unaccountable for their next trip. So they very nearly escaped being caught while in Baltimore, while the arm was in the sling and the difficulties past arose. The next and final thing is when they landed at the port of Philadelphia, all of the porters wanted to see paperwork, proof of travel, and all the information. They passed with flying colors. So this couple that had no formal education, no formal knowledge, no money, very little meager resources, managed to escape that small town outside of Macon, Georgia, all the way to Philadelphia at the time on a 4-day trip via train. Truly remarkable thing they also did. Another bright side to the story was when the Black Codes got approved at the time. For those who did not know, the Black Codes are what they did to capture runaway slaves that had moved to the North to seek asylum and freedom. The Black Codes at the time went to recapture Elaine and William. And at the time, they'd been free for almost 2 to 3 years. When they found out about this Black Codes coming for them, they relocated to Boston, Massachusetts. And after post-Civil War, after they had 5 children, they lived their lives, they've been freed for over 20, 30 years. They agreed to go back to Macon, Georgia, to open up a story for Black people who did not have the formal educational skills, who had desire to learn and grow themselves better. This phenomenal love story of how Black couples prospered through all trials and tribulations is truly beautiful. I think it's one of the most romantic things that has not been publicized that should be talked about, because this lady was a ride or die for her husband. He needs to made it any way possible, not allowing any of their current circumstances to bother them. Check it out again, baby. I thought it was a phenomenal today's lesson. King Crowd, I appreciate you for watching the channel. I'm thankful for you to watch the network and see how we're growing. I appreciate you. Please comment, like, or subscribe if you got anything else you'd like to add to this Elaine and Craft Love Story. Peace.